Hey, replay viewers and listeners. This is the Speakeasy podcast where we talk about the behind the scenes and the author and speaker journey. Guys, we talk about the things that people don't want to talk about. And this particular episode is really near and dear to my heart. Because of the recent suicides, I did a post last Friday where, in a couple of the author groups that I'm a part of, and I just said, a lot of times this author journey, this speaker journey is a very lonely journey. And I just wanted to reach out and say, you're not in it alone. A lot of the things that you're going through in this process and in this journey, there's been others who have gone through it too, and who will come beside you and be that support. So never think that you are alone. Never think that you don't have a support. Never think that, nobody's going to understand, just how tough it is for you to be successful in this journey. Understand that there's somebody out there. You just have to be willing to find who they are and where they are. So with that being said, I'm excited because we have a great guest for today. And so Diane, I'm excited because she is my first professor to be on as a guest on the Speakeasy podcast, guys. Excited, yay. And I'm quite sure that behind the scenes, she's like, oh, she's an interesting one. She stands out. But, I love it because I love when we get different personalities, when we get different conversations from different people. And when we think about happiness as a whole, can we talk about it? Oftentimes we think that somebody else may have a different idea and a different version of happiness that we're trying to attain. And that's not it at all. That's not it at all. That's not it at all. And so Diane is an adjunct professor of psychology, which is one of my favorite subjects in school. It was one of my favorite at Montclair State University, and the author of 3 books. You guys know. Now, once you get the first one out, it's like, whoo, you gave birth. It's kind of difficult to get the other 2 sometimes. But she has 3 books out. Her latest book is called Mindfully Happy: Waking Up to Life. Now, the reason why this was, again, so powerful for me was because with everything that's been going on, we have to understand that we have a choice to be happy. So with that being said, hey, Diane, I want you to tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you so much for having me as a guest. So I really appreciate being here. So I am an adjunct. I've been working at Montclair State University for about 10 years in the undergrad psych department. I also am a therapist and a life coach. What makes me a little different is I'm actually trained in positive psychology. So I study, research, and teach happiness. So everything I do really uses the guidelines of positive psychology, whether it's in my counseling, whether it's in my coaching, or even as a teacher. So I do a mix of the college, and I also run a lot of workshops in the New York City tri-state area, as well as online, teaching various emotional wellness. And a lot of it is, cultivating happiness and mindfulness, which is what my new book is about. So thank you again for having me.
Definitely. And so when we think of that, when we think of mindfulness,
right,
what would be your definition of mindfulness?
So mindfulness is being awake and aware of everything around you, but also being awake and aware to all the thoughts that are in your head, that clutter or that noise that we hear all day. And it's being awake and aware, but without judgment. It's just being aware of it. And the other thing to remember is meditation is the intentional practice of mindfulness. So we can have different practices that allow us to be more mindful in our daily lives, like yoga, like meditation or guided visualizations, but we can be mindful in so many other ways as well. Because, when you say meditation, everybody thinks of your hands are up and you're like, and all my clients and students go, no, I can't do that. I can't quiet my mind. And I just want to, get away from the one myth. You don't quiet your mind fully. We have about 60,000 thoughts a day. If you could get rid of all of them, then I really have to sit and analyze you. That would be really impressive. That's like a superpower. But the truth is we can all take our thoughts and kind of push them to the back of our head that our focus doesn't lie on them, and we can kind of clear our head and get into like a reboot or a refuel, refresh, where we're more in our conscious mind. And when we're in our conscious mind, we're in the here and now, which makes us more creative, more productive, and it's when we're our happiest. So it's really important that we cultivate more mindfulness. And again, you don't have to meditate. There's many other ways, but if you want to, that's also a great practice. So, if we can cultivate a little more mindfulness, we can de-stress ourselves naturally. And then by cultivating happiness, we're adding self-care, we're adding in what makes us feel great and joyful with, what produces endorphins. And the mix of those two together really make for a good life.
That is so true. It's interesting. For one, you talking about the yoga, because yoga is in my mind. It used to be, okay, so you guys do really interesting poses that my body doesn't go in. That's like the initial thing when you think of yoga and you see it online. But then when you said that reboot, because a lot of times we forget that part. As a speaker, as an author, just as an individual, we forget to reboot sometime throughout our day. We forget to reboot. And then what ends up happening is the same thing that would happen to a computer. It gets fried.
Yeah, it burns out.
It burns out. And so we look at people and we say, oh, they're supposed to be, they're so strong. They're handling so much. They're doing all of these wonderful things. But no, that's not always the best thing if you're not taking that time to reboot. And I love that you said that was a part of the self-care, because we have to understand it is a part of self-care. Yeah. I can't expect anybody else to make me reboot. I had to learn that part.
No, but it's true. If we don't take care of ourselves, like you said, what happens is we have physical and emotional consequences. So it starts there, and that's the mind-body connection, because we can literally be in denial or avoidance of all our issues. We can push them out of our head and use all our defense mechanisms or self-medicate, but your body physically knows it. So, you can get tension in your shoulders or your neck. A lot of people get it in their jaw. Some people will get TMJ or lockjaw from it. Others get migraines and headaches. I get it in my stomach. Those are the first signs. And the other part is it lowers your immune system when we're constantly stressed out, anxious, always on the go, type A personalities. We end up with lowering our immune system. So we catch every cold and flu that comes our way, and we're always sick. And those are the physical signs of it. Emotionally, we get very snappy, moody, irritable. Our mood swings were like up and down like a roller coaster. It affects our sleep, our eating. It can even lead into depression. And then from there, we can have panic and anxiety attacks. We can have psychosomatic illnesses such as irritable bowel syndrome, where your illness is completely real, but stress plays a huge factor in it. And from there, if we still stay stressed out, anxious, angry, frustrated, still, stay in that place of internalizing all that, we'll reach burnout, as you said. And burnout can last for a day, or it can last, for a year, depending on how bad it is. It's, it's a state where we're mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually fatigued. We're just done. And we don't want to get to that spot. So it's really important, like you said, to work on self-care. And always think of this line: you can't give what you don't have. So if you don't have anything left in yourself to give, you can't be the parent of 4 teens, which I think is great just to begin with. You need plenty of energy, more than the rest of us. But you can't be a great author, speaker, parent, friend, sister, daughter, wife, whatever it is you do, you won't have the ability to do it. So we really want to make sure that people put self-care. And self-care isn't just getting a mani-pedi or, going for lunch. Self-care is what works for you to refresh or reboot, as you said. It's an individual thing. Everybody's different, but just making sure that we have it is the important part of it.
Yeah, I found that for me, because I'm an introvert as well, I really had to have that downtime when I go and do live events. And so if not, by the end of the event, I'm like, I don't want to see anybody. I just want to be in my room. Oh, my little lonesome. And let's be honest, if you're emceeing an event, hosting an event, or you're a speaker, that's really not in, it's not in the cards for you to be able to just walk away and leave everybody standing there. So I had to implement little things and little techniques. So for instance, when everybody else is doing lunch, normally that's part of the time that I step away. And even if it's going and sitting by the pool for a half hour, but I do something just to clear my mind. I'm normally going in a day earlier and leaving a day later. So that way I have that time to kind of rejuvenate myself and get myself together from traveling, because we all know traveling can be stressful by itself.
Yeah, traveling, especially nowadays with all the security checks, it's a whole process. That's, it doesn't matter.
Exactly. So I always found that has been something that has really helped me now, but I didn't know it beforehand. And so I was getting stressed, and everybody around me knew it because they felt the stress, because I was barking at everybody. I was angry. I was frustrated. It heavily affected my weight. My weight was always up and down. Because I'm an emotional eater, or I should say I'm an emotional snacker. I wasn't really eating healthy foods emotionally. Right. It was more like brownies and ice cream, funnel cake, those type things.
So the emotional foods, the comfort foods.
Right, the comfort foods. Those things that we really love the taste of.
Yeah.
But, with all of that, there were the key things that I implemented in my life to decompress, even in the day-to-day. So I want to ask you what you would recommend first. What is something that somebody can do in the morning and in the evening that would help them to decompress from just the day-to-day things that they've endured?
Sure. So I have my clients, and I do everything that I have my clients do. So I do the same work. So I have all of my clients, when they wake up in the morning, do what I call a morning meditation. I call it the morning dump. It's not what you're thinking, but what the morning dump is just taking out a piece of paper, or having a journal and just writing out whatever is in your mind. It's free writing. So there's no judgment, there's no correcting, no grammar, spell check. It's just writing out whatever's there so you can start your day with a fresh, clean slate. And the important piece about that is you can do it for 5-10 minutes a day. Right when you wake up, you can keep it right on your nightstand, your journal. If when you're done, if you want to rip it up or delete it, if you do it on your iPad or tablet because you don't want other people to see you, that's fine as well. But it's just releasing everything so you start the day fresh. And that is a meditation. So again, it doesn't have to be yoga or actually sitting going, You can do a meditation just by writing it out. And that's a really great way. And I also have a lot of my clients set an intention. What do you want the day to look like? My intention is having a smooth day. If I'm going from client to client and I'm traveling, in my car and I'm spending a lot of time, in and out of traffic, so I want an easy, smooth day. I'll set my intention, which sets my mood for the day. And the other thing is, in between, whether you're speaking, whether you're, home with your kids, it doesn't matter what you're doing. In between, I have my clients do little breaks, little pauses during their day where they can really refresh and reboot. And all I have them do is, and I do it in my car in between clients or speaking events, I'll sit in my car for about 2 to 3 minutes. I'll close my eyes. I'll take about 2 to 3 deep breaths. And when I exhale, I'll exhale really loud. So I'm releasing all the negativity, all the hot air from the day so far. And then I'll just count to about, with my eyes closed, 30 to 40, very slowly, like 1, 2, because when you're counting like that, you can't think of anything else. It clears your brain. So I'll just do that to about 30 or 40. Most of my clients say they never get past 50, and then you just zone out from it. And you'll zone out for maybe 2 to 3 minutes, 4 minutes, because you'll wake to something else, but it gives you enough of a little bit of a pause or a meditative break that you can just kind of refresh and, hit back into that refuel area and just kind of clear what you've just done. And you can do that 2 or 3 times a day in your car, in your cubicle, in the bathroom, if you're hiding from your kids because you need a break, whatever it is, it just gives you a chance to refresh. And it doesn't have to be much. And for meditative breathing, all it is, and again, there's no right or wrong with meditative breathing. So even if you forget, as long as you're breathing, we're good. But what you want to do, because people hold their breath a lot,
Yes.
is you want to take a deep breath in through your nose, hold for a few seconds, and then exhale through your mouth. That is all a meditative breath is. And if you just do that a few times, it'll relax the physical symptoms, like the stress symptoms, if your heart racing or feeling like there's a brick in your chest, especially if you're stressed out or anxious. It'll release the globus feeling that people get, where it's like a tennis ball in your throat. If you're getting a headache, it'll release that tension enough to really just relax you. And you could also do some stretches. I teach people to just stretch and release the tension out of their shoulders, their neck, their faces, and just doing a little of stretching and the deep breathing and a little bit of counting. Again, it'll take you less than 5 minutes. It could be done anywhere. Will really just kind of get you back into the conscious mode, which is where we want to be, because we spend 95% of our day on autopilot. We really do, unless you mindfully make the effort to make it different. If not, we'll just, go on autopilot all day and do what we do. And a really common way for people to notice they're doing it is, let's say you go to work, you go to the same place every day. How many times have people drove home from work and don't even remember they drove home? They're like, did I stop at that red light or the stop sign? Did I pass the mall on the way home? Because you completely zoned out. And that's what happens to a lot of us. We do that when we're on phone calls with people we know, when we're walking places. We just completely zone out because we're on autopilot, and we're missing out on so much stuff by doing that. So it's really important to take those little breaks during the day and maybe start the day off with setting an intention, doing the journal, writing the morning dump, and then I make my clients end the day. So at night, when you're about to go to sleep, you shut the light off, you shut the TV off, you're sitting in bed in the quiet. I make people do their gratitude checks. And all they do is ask themselves, what are 2 to 3 things that I'm grateful for that happened today? Because I want them to look through their day and find the little gifts and blessings and miracles that they tend to ignore. And if you just do a general gratitude every day, you tend to say the same things over and over, right? Like, I'm grateful for my family, grateful I'm alive, I'm grateful for my health. And we get into what we call a gratitude rut, where it has no value or meaning. So by looking through your day for the little things that you're grateful for, and I mean little, it might be there was no traffic. Well, that doesn't happen in New Jersey, but just in case. Or you got a great parking spot, or you had the best cup of coffee, or, whatever it is. It could be the littlest things. It's just starting to notice them, which retrains your brain and shifts your perspective. And what gratitude does too, just for everybody else, gratitude is a form of meditation. And it's also cultivates happiness. So it's a win-win. You get 2 for on gratitude, and it takes you 2 to 3 minutes to do at night and doesn't cost you a dime or change your schedule. So doing all of those things, again, they're free and they don't change anything, which is so important, because, what I hear from clients is, I have no more time left because of my kids, and I also have no more money left because of my kids. So if you give me some sustainable, realistic, easy to do, I'll do it. And these things are. So that's where we're hoping you'll stick to some kind of lifestyle pattern with them.
I love that. For me, it was, things started really changing for me when I decided that I was going to be intentional, and when I wake up, and intentional before I go to bed. And so what I started doing was I would take the time out to actually listen to a book on audio or a podcast when I wake up in the morning. And before I go to bed, that would be the last thing that I would listen to. Is I would literally put my pot, and I love Audible. Like, I think I should have stock in Amazon at this point, but you can set a timer on there. And so I would set a timer for about 30 minutes, 20 minutes, and listen to 20 minutes of a book before I go to bed. And I had to start telling my clients, that a lot of times what we take in is, of course, what's going to come out. So if we're just taking in everything that's been going on in our day, we don't have anything left. That's it. You either have been pouring everything out and you don't have anything left, or everything that's in you has been all negative things or the hustle and bustle of your day. So you really don't have anything positive to really pour out to people. You don't have anything really to give. And it's really dangerous like that, especially when you have children. Let me tell you, your pets know it.
They do. Well, moods and emotions are completely contagious scientifically, and negativity spreads way quicker than positivity. So if I come into a room and I'm in a really good mood, I'll affect only 3 or 4 people. But if I come into a room and I'm in a bad mood, I'm a negative person, I'll affect 8 people right away, because we have what's called the negative bias. we're more comfortable in the negative. It's what we're used to. I mean, just look at the news. Well, stay away from the news, but you know what I mean? The news is just, and it's 24 hours a day between your computers, the newspapers, the TVs, just 24 hours of negativity. And then every advertisement that you see is basically telling you you're not good enough, plus all the negatives of traffic, road rage, whatever your stress is from work-life balance. So we really have to add in the difference. So the gratitude or listening to a book will give you that positivity before you go to sleep, which is so important because whatever you're thinking about 15 to 20 minutes before you go to sleep affects if you sleep, how you sleep, and what mood you wake up in, and also how you dream. So it's important that you go to sleep with something positive. So whether it's gratitude, whether it's reading a great book, whether it's listening to a guided meditation, you just want to end the day on a good note and start it on a good note, like you said. So important. Great tips you have.
Definitely. And so, as we grow, people often say, well, oh, you always seem so happy. You're always so smiling. Well, it's because I had to be intentional about being happy. I tell people, when you look at what I've been through and the molestation and the homelessness and things of those nature, I can't hold on to those things. Because if I hold on to those things, then I have no space to take on any of the positive things that are going to come in my life. I have no space to take on any of the great things. I have 4 great children. They're kind of crazy, but that's all right. But, for instance, they came in today from school, and what did I do? I had the music blasting. Well, not blasting too loud, but I had the music playing so they could just come in and dance. That, just having that positive atmosphere when you come in, because sometimes I've had those moments where I've come home and it was a toxic atmosphere. It was, my mother and my stepfather arguing and things of that nature. So you come in and you're just like already drained from the day to come into that.
Yeah.
Never a good look.
Absolutely.
Never a good thing. So then you find what little things it is. And I guess that's what it is. People often think that when they think meditation and they think, oh, I have to do deep breathing, then I have to find out how to use a yoga ball, or I have to find out how to do yoga moves. I got to find out this. And then they start like overthinking it, right? They overthink the whole process.
Any of it, right? If you can write, if you could just breathe, or even the best scientifically proven way to get mindfulness is just going for a walk. Not even a run, not a jog, not a speed walk, just a nice walk. If you can do 20 minutes a day, 4 times a week, it's equivalent to an anti-anxiety pill. It cultivates mindfulness and it produces endorphins, your happy pill. We can all walk. So everybody just go outside and take a walk. I don't do yoga. It's not my thing. I admit it. I have very low blood pressure naturally, and anything that I have to keep my head down, like, just makes me dizzy. So I don't even enjoy it. It makes me actually sick. I never do yoga. I meditate. I go walking every day. I sit in nature. I do the journal writing. I do gratitude. So I get mindfulness in so many other ways. So it's finding what works for you and then making sure you make it a lifestyle choice. And just, for anything to really stick, to become a habit or pattern, it takes longer than a few weeks. So make sure it takes 2.5 to 3 months scientifically. So just stick with it, whether it's setting the intentions, writing, walking, deep breathing, whatever you decide to do. Just make sure you really do it for a good 3 months, and then you'll notice it has become an autopilot lifestyle habit. So just don't give up. Persistence and patience.
That's saying a lot, because it used to be that it only took about like 21 days. That was the
Why New Year's resolutions don't work, because you only give it 3 weeks and then you gave up. In 3 weeks to a month, you'll notice benefits from it. You'll feel different from it. But for it to become an autopilot habit that you don't think about it, like brushing your hair, tying your shoes, brushing your teeth, things you just do naturally, if you want it to become that much of a habit, you got to give it between 2.5 to 3 months. And in the scheme of life, that's not that long. So we can all do it.
It's definitely not that long. When we think about it right now, at this point, we're halfway through the year. We're about to go into the 3rd quarter now. And so it's definitely not that long, especially when you think about everything that's going on. The kids are now out of school. You'll blink twice, they'll be back in school. Right. And then Christmas ornaments will be out.
No, I'm not ready for that yet. Please. No. I want summer first. We've had the horrible winter. You did too. Let's stick with summer for a while. But
And I think that it's that, and that's the other piece of it. For some people, it's what they go through. It's, the everyday life. But then you do have some people that deal with seasonal depression and things of that nature. And so for those people, because that's not, let's be honest, that's not a conversation that people normally have. People don't even want to talk about them being depressed. They want to just, they'll just mark it off as I'm sad about something and it'll go away. And we never want to, put a Band-Aid on something that needs surgery.
True.
So with that being said, for those who it goes a little bit deeper than just what I'm going through day to day, but it may be seasonal depression, or it may be, I really did lose a loved one and I never regained that happiness. What would you say to somebody who needs to take it a little bit further than just the gratitude at night and the brain dump in the morning?
If you're really having it that tough, and seasonal affective disorder affects a lot of people, especially, during the winter with the shorter days and less sunlight and it's cold and we're stuck in all the time, there's a few things you could do. One, I do suggest that if you have seasonal or any kind of mild or clinical depression or bipolar or anything of that type, or mental illness runs in your family, you do want to reach out and get counseling. Really important for, it doesn't have to be forever, but even just do it for a few months, get yourself feeling, to a good spot. Find somebody you like and you can open up to. There's also for seasonal disorders, we know, check your vitamin D levels and your blood work. If they're low, take a lot extra. I have a few clients who use a sun box, a light box to give them the extra light that they need during the day. But a lot of them will, there's also the option of meds, but that is something to discuss with a doctor and do counseling at the same time. But if you feel that it's a little more, we don't really want to, as a therapist and a coach, the one thing we know, coaching is great if you're the functioning person. If you feel that you have mental illness of any type, even if it's situational because you lost a loved one, what you want to do is make sure that you take the extra step. And if you have a great coach, they'll tell you to do this anyway. Go out and make sure you get counseling, whether it's from an LPC, an LCSW, a clinical psychologist, any mental health practitioner. You just want to make sure you take that extra step. And from there, you can decide if you need meds or even want to go that route. But I always suggest that first. If you're not in that frame of mind, then coaching is perfect. Stick with it. It's what you need. But if it's mental illness related, then, or if you notice you're self-medicating of any type, substance abuse or eating or any of that, it really is a counseling issue. So, just know yourself and know if you're having a hard time functioning or sleeping or anything has changed, or you're feeling helpless, hopeless, you're having a lack of desire to do the things you normally love to do or the people you love to be with. If you have a hard time making it to work and school and just functioning in general, then it's time to reach out.
Definitely. I tell people that all the time. I think because with there being such an increase in life coaching, people kind of think, oh, well, I don't have to go to a therapist now. I can just go to a life coach, right?
Right.
But the reality is that's not it. And I've told my clients before, because I have a background in social work, as well as being a licensed foster parent, I know the different things. I see the different triggers. I know. Listen, I will tell you if you need something deeper than what I have for you, but not every coach will.
No. And, I do, because I have my, master's in counseling and I'm a therapist as well. But we do try to train coaches to do that. And that's one thing to look for. If your coach has a background in psychology or social work or counseling, they will know that. Just so make sure that you go to a coach, even though there is no government standards the way there is for social workers and counselors like myself, where we have to have a master's and a certain amount of hours to get our license and, accreditation. Coaches still should have a certificate, and they should still also have some type of background, either in social work, counseling, or positive psychology, and then they will be trained to know the difference. And it's important to ask that upfront with your coach. Really important, because, a lot of this, anybody can technically call themselves a coach, unfortunately. There's not a lot of standards, and we do need to change that. But for now, just make sure you ask. And again, if you have a good coach and they hear what your story is, they'll know if you need counseling. And a lot of people do counseling and coaching. So it's not like you can't do them both. You
Exactly.
see two people. Because counseling goes back into your past, coaching moves you forward. So they do two different things. So it's okay to have both. But if you know your past is stopping you from moving forward, then it's definitely a counseling issue.
Definitely.
So
yes.
that's all so hopefully if anybody hears this, they can go get the help they need. And you can reach out to myself, and I'm sure the same for you, and we can refer people or resources. Absolutely.
Always. I tell people all the time, it's great that you can sign up for, programs. And I feel, I don't want to get emotional. I feel like a lot of people get taken advantage of.
Right. I agree.
Because they have a mental illness, because they have something deeper going on. And so you see them paying out the money to take this class or to get, to do whatever. And that they're not going to fully be able to complete it because of that, because of what else is going on underlining. I've always told my clients, I said, some people will tell you, oh my goodness, yes. And after being in my program for 6 months, you'll be a millionaire. No.
and that's the hard part. So
exactly. I'm like, no, there's a whole mentality that has to be shifted, because you can't go from an employee to an entrepreneur mindset without doing some real work on your mind. There's a lot that has to go with it. And so if you're already going through something, it adds some steps to what you need to do in order to have that same success. And
right.
People don't always see that. So I love that you're both the licensed clinical social worker as well as the coach.
I'm a licensed counselor. I'm not a social worker.
I love that you're both. I love that, because that hits on both ends of the spectrum. I'm not going to let you go. I'm going to make sure that from this perspective and from this perspective as well. Whereas you have so many others where they just saw that whole, be a life coach and make money, and they just ran after it. I tell people, if you're dealing with a life coach that is not currently taking classes on a regular basis, then you have the wrong coach. Right. They should always be learning about the new techniques when it comes to the mindset, when it comes to mental illness, when it comes to abuse. For me in particular, I work directly with women who have gone through abuse. So I need to know, what's going on and if there's something new that's come out that may help them, I need to know that. And I'm going to want to know that because I want what's best for them.
Right. I'm the same way.
Yeah, so I love that. That made me smile like through and through. That made me smile like through and through. And because again, when we think about this entrepreneur journey, when we think about being the author or the speaker, it's a journey, guys. There are so many ins and outs that we have to endure, trust, and believe. And so with that being said, I always ask every author that comes onto the show, what has been a blunder for you in this process? What has been something that in this journey you look back now and go, maybe I shouldn't have done that part?
You know what? I don't really know, to be honest. I really have to say I kind of loved the whole journey. I've made mistakes, definitely, but I don't have one big blunder that sticks out. I'm sure I will eventually, because life's a journey and things happen. But I've made like a lot of little mistakes like along the way that I wish I'd known better, but I don't have one huge one, thankfully, because for me, it's been a long process getting there. I didn't just switch field. I've always been in the therapy, self-help field. So I think that, it was just a slower process for me. So I didn't have the big jump, even when I quit my working at a rehab as a therapist full time and I went to my own, I still was in the same field. So I don't think it was as hard for me as it is for others. So, but on that note, I'm going to have to leave you. I actually have a client in like 10 minutes at 3:00. So
not a problem at all. I just want you to let them know where they can find you on social media and how they can get in contact with you.
Well, thank thank you so much. You're such a pleasure to talk to. I can actually talk to you for hours. All of a sudden I look down, I'm like, oh my God, it's like 10 to 3. I have to go. But thank you so much. You can reach me at my website, which is DL Counseling. It's just my name, dlcounseling.com. And I have a free newsletter on there you can sign up for. And my email's on there. And you can email me, again, especially if you need any resources or have any questions about anything we discuss. And thank you again so much. And hopefully we could do this again one time because you're so easy to chat to. I would love to come back anytime.
Definitely. And I loved having you on. And so, guys, thank you so much for joining us for yet another episode of the Speakeasy Podcast. Guys, you know, if you are an author or speaker, we would love to have you on as a guest. bit.ly/Speakeasy Podcast, all lowercase. And again, understand that this journey is not one that you have to do on your own. If you are ever feeling as though things have gotten too stressful or gotten too much to handle, please, please, please reach out. You will see all of Diane's information in the comments as well as in the description. And guess what? Reach out. I'm sure that if you tell her you heard her speak and you just need a little extra help, that she'll be able to either help you herself or guide you in the right direction.
Thank you, and I absolutely will.
Definitely. So I love you guys. Until next time, don't forget to press it out. See ya.